Every season, 32 teams chase one dream to win the Super Bowl. But here's the twist. More than a third of them have never done it, not once. Some have come painfully close, only to fall apart on the biggest stage. Others haven't even sniffed the Super Bowl. So today, we're breaking down the NFL teams that are still chasing that elusive first ring, the heartbreaks, the near misses, the collapses, and maybe, just maybe, who's next in line to finally end the drought. Well, let's talk about it. Before we even get into the teams that lost the Super Bowl, let's talk about the ones that haven't even been there. Not once. No halftime show nerves, no confetti, no heartbreak on the big stage, because they haven't reached it in the first place. And we're starting with the team that defines long-term frustration, Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are one of the NFL's most storied franchises, but their legacy mostly lives in the pre-Super Bowl era. Once upon a time, they were the team, with 8 championships to their name before the merger. But since the Super Bowl era began in 1967, nothing, not a single appearance. They've come close, most notably in the 1980s during the Bernie Kosar era. But then came the drive and the fumble. 2 soul-crushing losses to John Elway's Broncos in the AFC Championship games. Those moments didn't just hurt. They defined the franchise's reputation for falling short when it matters. After that, a move to Baltimore in 1996. The team was gone, then reborn in 1999 as an expansion franchise. Since then, it's been years of poor draft choices, coaching changes, and instability. They've had flashes, 2020 was promising, but the Browns are still chasing what's been out of reach for over half a century. Now, from historic heartbreak to historic futility, Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions haven't won a championship since 1957, and they've never made it to a Super Bowl. That's over 6 decades of disappointment. What makes it even tougher is the fact that they've had generational talents. Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, 2 all-time greats who never even played in a Super Bowl, let alone won one. The franchise has struggled with direction for years. Bad ownership decisions, questionable front office moves, and long stretches of irrelevance. For a while, they were the team you expected to lose, no matter who was on the field. But here's the thing. In 2023, they look different. The culture shift under Dan Campbell, the emergence of Jared Goff as a leader, and a young core that believes it can win. Detroit might finally be on the right path, and if momentum counts for anything, they're closer than they've been in decades. From one rebuild to another, let's head to the youngest franchise in the league, Houston Texans. The Houston Texans came into the NFL in 2002, so they're the newest team on this list. And naturally, they haven't had as much time to build a Super Bowl legacy. But even in that shorter window, they've already seen a lot. Mediocre seasons, playoff heartbreaks, wasted prime years of J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins, and a franchise reset more than once. For a long time, they were a team stuck in the middle, good enough to make the playoffs, never good enough to go far. And the 24-0 blown lead to the Chiefs in the 2019 divisional round? That one still stings. But like Detroit, the Texans are building something now. With C.J. Stroud at quarterback and DeMeco Ryans leading the team, the Texans finally feel like they have a direction. No Super Bowl yet, but this team finally has a plan to get there. So that's 3 teams, 3 completely different timelines. But one thing in common, they've never touched the Super Bowl stage. But now let's move to the next category. These teams, they got there. They were close. They played on Super Bowl Sunday, and they still walked away empty-handed. Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were right there. 4 times. In an 8-year span between 1969 and 1977, they reached the Super Bowl under legendary coach Bud Grant, and they lost all 4. They had a dominant defense, the Purple People Eaters, and stars like Fran Tarkenton. But every time they got to the big game, they just couldn't deliver. They didn't just lose, they got outclassed. Each defeat made the window feel smaller and the pressure heavier. Then came 1998, one of the best teams they ever had. They went 15-1, had an explosive offense with Randy Moss and Chris Carter, and looked destined for a Super Bowl. But Gary Anderson missed a field goal he hadn't missed all season, and Atlanta shocked them in the NFC Championship. Since then, a few more deep playoff runs, but never a return to the big game, and that 0-4 Super Bowl record still hangs over them. Next, another team that went 0-4 consecutively. Buffalo Bills. The Bills' Super Bowl pain is different. It's not just the fact they lost, it's how they lost. From 1990 to 1993, Buffalo made the Super Bowl 4 straight times. That's an NFL record. That's dominance. But they lost all 4. The first one hurt the most. Super Bowl 25, Scott Norwood had a chance to win it with a 47-yard field goal. He missed. Wide right, Giants win. And after that, it seemed like the losses just kept coming heavier. Blowout defeats to Washington and then Dallas twice. And let's be clear, that Bills team was stacked. Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, Andre Reed, Hall of Famers everywhere. But the legacy? 4 straight losses. It's a brutal reality. Lately, with Josh Allen, they're back in the playoff picture. But the pressure to finally win one? It's bigger than ever. From Buffalo's pain, let's head to another AFC team still chasing that first title, Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 0-3 in Super Bowls, but what makes their story even more painful is how close they've come. In the 1980s, they faced the 49 ERs twice in the big game. First in 1981, then again in 1988. Both times they had chances to win, but both times, Joe Montana led game-winning drives in the fourth quarter, and that second one, Montana went 92 yards in the final minutes to break Cincinnati's hearts. Fast forward to 2022, Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, a new generation, and another chance, this time against the Rams in Super Bowl LVI. The Bengals led in the second half, but once again the fourth quarter slipped away. Cooper Kupp caught the game winner. Aaron Donald ended it with a sack. 3 appearances, 3 near misses. The Bengals have been rebuilding the right way, but that Super Bowl pressure is still very real. Now let's move from close losses to one of the most famous collapses in NFL history. Atlanta Falcons' Atlanta's pain is tied to one game, Super Bowl LI. Patriots versus Falcons. You already know the numbers, 28-3. It's not just a score, it's a punchline, a symbol of collapse. They were dominant in the first half. Matt Ryan was in MVP form. Their defense forced turnovers. The game looked over, but they couldn't close. Poor clock management, missed blocks, and Tom Brady doing Tom Brady things. The Patriots came back. Overtime, loss. But that wasn't Atlanta's first time losing in the Super Bowl. Back in 1998, they lost to Denver in a game that wasn't even close. The Falcons had their shot. That 2016 team was built to win. But when you let a 25-point lead disappear on the biggest stage, that kind of loss doesn't just go away. Now, from heartbreak to a team that's always knocking but never breaking through, Carolina Panthers. Carolina has made 2 Super Bowl appearances, and both times they ran into future Hall of Fame quarterbacks and came up short. First, in 2003, they faced Tom Brady and the Patriots. It was one of the most underrated Super Bowls ever. Back and forth. Jake Delhomme held his own, but Adam Vinatieri hit the game winner with 4 seconds left. Then came 2015, the Cam Newton MVP season, 15-1, total domination. But in Super Bowl 50, the Broncos' defense suffocated them. Von Miller was everywhere. Carolina's offense looked overwhelmed, and Cam never recovered from that loss. Since then, the Panthers have been searching for answers. Coaching changes, quarterback turnover. They've reached the top, but they haven't been able to stay there. Now let's talk about a team that came 1 yard away from glory. Tennessee Titans Super Bowl Twixtor. Titans versus Rams. The greatest show on turf against a physical, well-coached Tennessee team. And it came down to the final play. Steve McNair drives the Titans 87 yards in the final minutes. Last play of the game. Kevin Dyson catches the ball at the 10, runs for the end zone, and gets stopped. 1 yard short. That's how close the Titans came to tying the game. They haven't been back since. There have been deep playoff runs. The 2019 win over Baltimore was impressive. Derrick Henry has carried the offense, but they haven't found that same Super Bowl magic again. From Tennessee, let's go out west. Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers made it to 1 Super Bowl, 1994, and they got steamrolled by the 49ers, final score of 49-26. Steve Young threw 6 touchdown passes. It wasn't close, but what defines the Chargers more than anything is wasted potential. Year after year, they've had talent. LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates, great rosters, but never the right combination of coaching, execution, and health to get back to the Super Bowl. Now with Justin Herbert, they have the tools. But the AFC is brutal, and if they can't close games and avoid injuries, the drought will continue. Finally, we move to the team with the longest championship drought in the NFL. Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have the longest running title drought in the NFL. Their last championship was in 1947, before the Super Bowl era even started. Their one and only Super Bowl appearance came in 2008, led by Kurt Warner and Larry Fitzgerald, and they were seconds away from winning it. Fitzgerald scored what looked like the game winner with 2:37 left, but then Ben Roethlisberger led one of the greatest drives in Super Bowl history. Santonio Holmes, toe tap in the corner. Game over. Since then, the Cardinals have bounced between rebuilds, injuries, and front office chaos. The potential was there, but the stability never was. Some of these teams have waited decades. Some are just getting started. But the truth is, every single one of them is still chasing the same thing. That moment under the lights, confetti falling, trophy in hand. And in the NFL, things can change fast. The right draft pick, a new coach, one season where everything just clicks. That's all it takes. Just ask the Eagles or the Chiefs. What looks impossible today might be history tomorrow. But what do you think? Which of these teams can win the next Super Bowl in a few years? Well, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.